Hello again, Facebook. This is a continuation from my previous video from yesterday about 12 disturbing facts about the Las Vegas shooting. Well, here's 12 more facts to add on to that. Some of it may be just missed facts that I missed yesterday. Most of them are new. Number one, the sheriff is questioning if he was radicalized. So they don't question that unless they have information about it. Well, yesterday we mentioned that ISIS has claimed responsibility for the attack. So now the sheriff is questioning that. Number two, this was information that was out yesterday that I just failed to mention. The elaborate camera system he had in the hallway and in his room, but in the hallway to see when the police officers or whoever would be, going to his room, and nobody apparently seen him rigging any of these things up. So number three, there were receipts that have surfaced at a restaurant that shows him and another person that was there. So he was obviously involved with at least one other person. So that kills the lone wolf theory, which I talked about in my previous video. Well, that brings us to number four. The receipt says it was September the 27th. Well, the officials are telling us he checked in on September the 28th. So why are they telling us the wrong date when we have the receipt showing us that he was there at least from the 27th? Number five, there are sources that are saying that he's been checked in since the 25th. It has not been confirmed yet, but that is floating around that he's been there actually since the 25th. So that'd be very interesting. Number six, his brother changed his mind. If you remember yesterday, I mentioned his family said he had no military experience, no experience with weapons or guns or anything, and there was no way that it could be him. Well, now his brother says that it was definitely him, that he definitely worked alone, that this was the kind of person he was. And there's a video that you can watch where with the brother is speaking. He obviously has an earpiece in his ear, and someone's communicating to him on what to say during this particular interview. And he's going to say one thing, and he stops, and he starts to listen, and then he just regurgitates something that was said to him in his ear. So in these types of situations, when it comes to high false flags from high up through the government, we know how threats and what kind of things take place to ensure that these types of situations, that nobody can get to the bottom of it and find the real truth. That's why we're investigating this. Number seven, we'll talk about his girlfriend. She's a very interesting person. She's from Australia, or at least Australian citizen. She was in the Philippines. She was shipped off there just a couple of weeks prior to this happening, and she is currently being questioned. She's under investigation, of course. She's married to two men at the same time. Very interesting. Which brings us to number eight. She used multiple IDs and also more than one social security numbers. So she's a very interesting character to be able to even do that. Number nine, the shooter had sent hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Philippines, and from what I'm understanding, elsewhere as well. And which will go to number 10. The girlfriend, after receiving the money or whatever, she just prior to this on September 25th, she was in Hong Kong. She had pictures on her social media. She was in Dubai recently, and so she goes to a lot of communist governments and ISIS-related governments as well. Number 11, this is a big one. He's a former contractor. He worked for Lockheed Martin. If you know Lockheed Martin is a contractor for the government, for the Defense Department. They make a lot of technology and things like that. Well, if you remember that James Holmes, the Batman theater shooter, he had affiliation with DARPA, another government program, another connection there. So we go to number 12. It's also uncovered that he was on psychotropic drugs, which the funny thing is, all of these shooters, they're mostly all on psychotropic drugs, as well as some kind of affiliation into some kind of government, like we said, DARPA, Lockheed Martin, and those types of things. So just real quick, The Columbine shooter, if you remember that, Eric Harris, he was on psychotropic drugs. The Batman, we mentioned James Holmes, psychotropic drugs. Just recently, the Charleston church shooting, Dylan Roof, him as well. You remember Sandy Hook, Adam Lanza? They're all on these same drugs that are issued to us, that are legalized by the FDA, which are controlled by the same people who put us through these things to begin with, that create these false flags. This, in my opinion, is a false flag event, one of many. There have been many false flags that have been put in front of us over many, many decades. And this is the most recent that, in my opinion, needs serious investigation. Thank you so much for watching. Please share.